For years, the name Suri Cruise carried a kind of Hollywood mythology around it. Born into one of the most scrutinized relationships in entertainment history, she grew up largely shielded from the cameras, raised quietly by her mother Katie Holmes, while the world watched and wondered. Wondered about her father, wondered about the distance, wondered what she truly thought about all of it. And now, at 18 years old, Suri has finally stepped out from the shadows in ways that have left Hollywood, fans, and perhaps even Tom Cruise himself, completely speechless. This is not just a story about a celebrity child growing up. This is a story about identity, independence, and a young woman making deeply personal choices that speak volumes without her ever having to say a single word out loud. To understand Suri's silence and what breaking it really means, you have to go back to the beginning. Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes were one of the most talked about couples of the mid-2000s. Their romance launched at lightning speed, marked by dramatic public declarations of love, a fairy tale engagement at the top of the Eiffel Tower, and a lavish multi-million-dollar wedding held in a centuries-old Italian castle. On paper, it looked like the ultimate Hollywood love story, but beneath the glamour, there were complications that the public was only beginning to understand. Katie's deep Catholic upbringing clashed quietly with Tom's intense devotion to Scientology, a belief system that reportedly shaped nearly every aspect of his personal life. Friends and family observed changes in Katie over the years. She became more reserved, more guarded, and those who had known her before her marriage noted that the warm, spontaneous young woman from Ohio had been replaced by someone far more careful and controlled in her public presence. When Suri was born in April 2006, even the circumstances of her birth raised eyebrows. The delivery reportedly followed practices encouraged by Scientology, including maintaining silence during childbirth. It was an early signal to the outside world that life inside this family operated by a very different set of rules. In June 2012, Katie Holmes filed for divorce from Tom Cruise. By most accounts, the move completely blindsided him. What followed was one of the swiftest divorce proceedings Hollywood had ever seen, finalized in just 11 days. This speed was no accident. Katie's father, an attorney, had reportedly been preparing for this possibility for years, having negotiated a detailed prenuptial agreement long before the marriage ever began. Katie walked away with sole custody of Suri, which turned out to be the most significant outcome of the entire settlement. That single legal decision meant that Tom would have limited influence over how his daughter was raised, what she was taught, and perhaps most importantly, what beliefs she would be exposed to going forward. Whether intentional or not, it effectively drew a boundary between Suri and the world her father inhabited. Tom's child support payments of $400,000 per year were set to continue until Suri's 18th birthday. With that milestone now passed, that financial chapter has officially closed, and a new one has quietly begun. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of this entire story is how long the silence between father and daughter has stretched. By multiple credible accounts, Tom Cruise and Suri have not been publicly seen together since around 2012, the same year the divorce was finalized. That means for most of Suri's conscious childhood and all of her teenage years, her father was effectively absent from her daily life. Tom has spoken publicly about his other children, Connor and Isabella, both of whom he adopted with Nicole Kidman, and both of whom remained involved in Scientology. His connection with them appeared to stay intact, at least partly, observers have speculated, because of that shared belief system. With Suri, the story was starkly different. When Suri graduated from high school in New York City, surrounded by family and friends celebrating her milestone, Tom was not there. He was photographed that same weekend at a high-profile concert, socializing with celebrities at a Taylor Swift show. The contrast was not lost on the public. It became a quiet but devastating symbol of just how wide the gap between this father and daughter had grown. Then came the move that nobody quite expected, the one that sent shockwaves through tabloids, fan communities, and celebrity news circles almost instantly. Upon turning 18, Suri made a deeply personal decision about her own identity. She chose to drop the last name Cruise entirely. She now goes by Suri Noel, adopting her mother's middle name as her own surname. On the surface, it might seem like a simple administrative choice, The kind of thing many young adults do when they come of age and begin defining themselves on their own terms. But in the context of everything this family has been through, the symbolism is impossible to ignore. A last name is not just a label. It is a legacy. It is an inheritance. It is a public declaration of where you come from and, in this case, perhaps more importantly, where you no longer choose to identify. By stepping away from the crew's name, Suri was doing something quietly but unmistakably powerful. She was drawing her own line. She was writing her own first page. After 18 years of being defined in the press as Tom Cruise's daughter, she was making it clear that she intends to be known on her own terms, and those terms start with her mother's name. Sources close to the family indicated that Suri felt a profound desire to claim her own identity, one that genuinely reflected the life she had lived and the parent who had actually been there for it. The choice honored the woman who raised her, fought for her, and built a life of stability and warmth around her when everything could have fallen apart. It would be impossible to talk about Suri's journey without acknowledging the transformation that Katie Holmes herself went through, because the two stories are inseparable. After the divorce, Katie rebuilt herself from the ground up. She moved to New York City with Suri, threw herself back into acting and directing, and gradually reclaimed the version of herself that had existed before the whirlwind of that relationship swept her off course. She spoke in interviews about feeling more empowered than she had in years. She pursued her creative projects on her own terms. She directed films. She returned to Broadway. She became, by all visible measures, a woman who had found her footing and her voice again after years of navigating an environment that many described as deeply controlling. Through all of it, Suri was right there beside her. Katie has spoken with visible emotion about how meaningful their bond has become, describing her daughter as her heart. The two built something real together, something private and protected, away from the noise of Hollywood. That foundation is clearly what Suri is standing on as she steps into adulthood. What many people may not realize is that Suri has already begun leaving her own quiet mark on the world, and she did it the same way her mother did, through creative work. Suri's singing voice was featured in 2 of Katie's films. She contributed vocals to Alone Together in 2022 and again in Rare Objects in 2023. Both contributions were understated and genuine, exactly the kind of low-key artistic involvement that fits the life Suri has chosen to live. Katie has said in interviews that including Suri in her work came completely naturally, that it created a beautiful, safe creative space between them. It was not a calculated publicity move. It was a mother and daughter making art together because they genuinely wanted to. That distinction matters. It speaks to a relationship built on authenticity rather than performance, which stands in sharp contrast to the theatrical spectacle that defined much of Suri's earliest years in the public eye. This past fall, Suri Noel began her freshman year at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of the most respected academic and arts institutions in the country. Katie helped her move in, was photographed carrying boxes into the dorms, and by all accounts gave her daughter the most normal college send-off she possibly could. Suri choosing Carnegie Mellon says something meaningful about who she is. It is not a school you attend for fame or connections. It is a school you attend because you are serious about your craft, because you have genuine talent, and because you want to develop it in an environment that challenges you. It is the choice of a young woman with a plan, with a vision for herself that has nothing to do with the Hollywood machine her parents once dominated together. When she visited New York recently to support Katie at her Broadway debut, Suri was spotted simply living her life, walking the city with her cat, catching up with her mom, moving through the world like someone who knows exactly who she is. That quiet confidence is perhaps the most striking thing about her. There is something worth sitting with here. Suri Cruise, now Suri Noel, never gave a press conference. She never posted a lengthy social media statement. She never granted an explosive interview to a major publication laying out her grievances or making accusations. Her silence was not emptiness. It was dignity. Every choice she has made since turning 18 has communicated something clear and considered. The name change, the college, the creative work, the close relationship with her mother, the very conspicuous absence of any public gesture toward reconciliation with her father. None of it required words, because all of it already spoke. At 18, Suri has done something that takes many people decades to figure out. She has decided who she is, separate from the legend of her parents, separate from the noise of Scientology disputes and divorce headlines and tabloid speculation. She is Suri Noel now, a college student, an artist, a daughter who honors the parent who was actually present. Whether Tom Cruise ever finds a way back into his daughter's life remains an open question, and genuinely, only the two of them can answer it. But what is no longer in question is this. Suri has broken her silence, not with words, but with choices. And those choices have said everything.